Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Dividend Portfolio Weekly Update. As of today, the portfolio sits at a valuation of $30,101. We are in the early part of today's trading session, and the markets have been down. This kind of continues what we saw yesterday, where we saw a sizable dip in the markets. If you're a crypto investor, a lot of the cryptocurrencies took huge plunges of 10% or more. That kind of has actually brought us down for the week about $277, but we did earn $20.87 in dividends. For the month, though, we're pretty much flat, although if you're looking strictly at market gain, we're actually down, but earned dividends have brought us to a slight net positive. For the quarter, we're still having a pretty strong quarter, up about 1,000 overall. For the last year, we're up about 6,700. And then since we've been on M1 Finance since July of 2020, we're looking at a positive gain of 7,600. So as you can see here, we're also sitting on a cash balance of $19.08. We did have some dividends actually enter into our account, so we'll cover that here. So if you see, the first dividend we earned was from Discover. That was September 2nd, where they paid us $5.21. And then just last night we had dividends come in from Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer. I didn't do really any major moves this week in my long-term portfolio. I did see an opportunity to buy a little bit more Visa, just put in $30 to pick up another little over a tenth of a share. They kind of took a dip, I believe it was last Friday, so wanted to kind of buy a little bit more Visa. So kind of the main things I want to cover in this video is actually going to be outside of my long-term portfolio. I wanted to talk a little bit more about my Roth IRA. So the reason I did want to kind of talk about my Roth IRA today is because I have made some pretty big moves in it. I've kind of changed my philosophy a little bit, and I wanted my portfolio to kind of reflect that. So as we head over there to check it out for the first time in this series, the Roth IRA kind of sits at a value of $6,544. That's an all-time gain of about $662. I've had this IRA open about 13 months now, since August of 2020. It's continually done pretty well. As you can see, I've been making deposits at least every other week, or sometimes an extra one, depending on what's actually happened with the market that week. But over time, I've kind of changed how I wanted to approach my Roth IRA, since this is a investment that really won't be used for at least another 40-ish years. This is a long-term investment vehicle that I plan to utilize later in life, especially when it comes to retirement. If you guys don't know really too much about the ins and outs of a Roth IRA, I definitely would make a video about that. So if you'd like to know more about the Roth, drop a comment down letting me know to make a video about exactly what a Roth IRA is. So as we kind of get into it, right away, you'll see that I have VOO and VTI take up the majority of this portfolio, but I also have VIG, which is a dividend appreciation ETF, and then VOIM, which is the high dividend yield ETF, all from Vanguard. I think Vanguard offers the best ETFs overall. VTI and VOO specifically are pretty similar, but I do like the more focused exposure that VOO offers. VTI is actually another pretty similar to VOO, but it again does have a little bit more widespread exposure to the entire stock market, where VOO is just the S&P 500. I'll probably eventually also make a video about comparing these two, because they kind of lumped together a lot of times and debated about which one exactly is better than the other. But just more about my holdings. I did kind of decide to pick 10 individual companies that I really like and I think will be around for a long time. So Microsoft's been in there since the beginning. Home Depot is a fairly new addition. Pepsi has also been around since the beginning, as well as Johnson & Johnson, 3M. So Home Depot I added over the summer. I actually switched out AT&T for Home Depot, and then recently I added Visa about a month ago, and then just yesterday I actually switched out Southern Company and Verizon. for Disney, Amazon, Costco, and Apple. So these are all newly entered into positions in my Roth IRA. I own all of these companies and other portfolios, but I did want to add them to the Roth because I do believe in these companies' long-term potential. So the reason I kind of switched my strategy is I wanted to go more towards a dividend growth style investing. For a while, it was more just focused on dividends. Now, like higher yields, maybe not as much growth. So I just kind of exchanged some of these higher yielding companies, such as Verizon, Southern Company, AT&T, and wanted to go more into lower paying companies that I think offer a higher chance of long-term capital appreciation as well as appreciation of their dividend year over year. So just to cover a little bit more about how much I actually own of all of these different positions, I'll flip over to my holdings tab, where again you can see the valuation of VOO and VTI are the biggest slices in this pie, but all these individual companies are considerably smaller. Some of these I own about a share or two. Some of these, like Microsoft, have grown quite a lot over the last year since I've opened this position, where some of these new ones are a little bit behind due to the smaller allocations. A company like Costco or Amazon, I probably won't be owning a full share for quite a while, especially Amazon, where even this amount only gets me less than 1/10 of a share. But another thing I did consider when adding these 4 recent positions is that Costco and Apple are actually at all-time highs. Um, Generally, I don't advise always buying at all-time highs, but if you do have a long-term time horizon, such as myself, such as like 10, 15, 20, 30 years, I think more all-time highs are just around the corner for these companies, and I expect them to continue to be very relevant far, far into the future. So with yesterday's purchases, I did pick up a little over a share of Disney, about a share and 0.35, and then half a share of Costco, 7/100 of a share of Amazon, and almost 1.6 shares of Apple. So some of these others, again, are a little bit bigger because I used to have higher allocations for the individual companies. It was about 5 to 6%. Now it's just 4% for all these across the board. So I would expect every time I'm contributing to my Roth IRA, it'll be buying these 4 just to kind of get them up to match some of these. So we did, again, have some activity over the last week in this portfolio. We did earn a couple of dividends. We had Johnson & Johnson and Southern Company. Johnson & Johnson paid us $1.94 and Southern Company paid us $3.27. Of course, yesterday I did opt to sell Southern Company and Verizon, so this will be the last dividend we received from them. On September 2nd, I did decide to, again, buy a little bit more Visa, just like I did in my long-term portfolio. But yesterday, of course, was the big move where I sold Southern Company and Verizon, but I also made a $500 deposit since I, again, had mentioned that I had a little cash waiting on the sideline, so I decided to utilize a little bit of that to kind of get the allocations a little better in this portfolio and beef up some of these positions that I'm adding. So again, here's all the totals. I just let it auto invest to decide how much each company was getting. So that's kind of where it stands as of now. With these dividends, I think that's going to kind of change a little bit since the yield overall on this portfolio is much lower than it was before. But I do expect that from a capital appreciation standpoint, this portfolio will grow much quicker and the dividends will steadily increase over time. I've a lot of time to wait, so I'm definitely in no hurry on that front. And again, I think this portfolio just overall kind of shows how my strategy has changed and how it's kind of continuing to evolve, because as an investor, that's kind of a key part of doing it, is that you can't stick with the same old thing over and over again. It's continually, changing, improving depending on the situation that you find yourself in. So with these dividends that we've been earning this month, we'll go ahead and see where our total stands. So here's my dividend log where I input, which company paid in what account. So we've earned 3 dividends in our long-term and 3 dividends in our Roth IRA. For our long-term total, we've added $18.27 in dividends. For our Roth IRA, it is $5.41. And together, that adds up to $23.68 so far in the month of September. Last year in 2020, we earned $66.67. So we're still quite a ways behind that, but I expect in probably the next week or two, we'll actually catch up and surpass last month's total. So guys, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for this video. So I'm just going to wrap it up here. If you did enjoy it, of course, drop a like as well as subscribe if you did enjoy it. I'll be making another growth portfolio video on Monday. And if you didn't check out my last video, go check that out as well. So with that being said, guys, I'll catch you later.